So December 11th came around and it was Friday, and my dad asked if he could have a sit down with me, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to because I haven't ever experienced where I've shared something with him and he emotionally was able to capture what I'm trying to communicate. And I felt that there was going to be a repeat. And so I was with Monica babysitting her son that day, and when 4 o'clock came around, Monica came home and I left and went back to my home. But around 7, no, actually, I think 6 o'clock, I had decided to meet up with my youngest brother. And before all of this, me leaving the house that Tuesday before Thanksgiving, my youngest brother and I were on the phone saying that we are going to start, creating content by making videos of us eating at different restaurants that are known around Dallas. And so that was our plan. We're going to video ourselves. We're going to make a YouTube channel based off of that. And I was on the speakerphone with him. And then that's when my husband was like, oh, okay, well, you didn't acknowledge me. And so it really blew into a big altercation, really just more berating, because it wasn't, for the most part, it wasn't back and forth. In the beginning, I was trying to explain myself. But my dad did want to talk to me, so he said do it at 7. So at 6, I met up with my brother, and we did go to a restaurant that he picked out. And when we got in there, I was like, I can't believe that you picked this place. It was visually unappealing, and it was First Chinese Barbecue right in Garland, and I just didn't like how it looked inside. But we ordered food. When we got back to he stays with my dad, so when I got back over there, we videotaped it, and the food wasn't even good. My kids were like, we actually don't want any. But I had them try some of it, and they were like, okay, thanks, and then that was it. So now we have a standard. I'm glad we did that video. Now we have a standard. We're going to check our restaurants that have a certain number of stars and certain number of reviews, and just not just any restaurant. And so we had to discuss that with each other, so that he understood what my goal and what my vision was for this whole for the effort toward doing these videos. So I was in the back then eating, and we stopped videoing after I took a few bites, and I went and sat with my dad. And when I sat with him, he told me that he had already talked to my husband a few days ago, and he sat with my youngest brother at the same time, so that for whatever reason, I'm not really sure what his effort was, what his motivation was for allowing my youngest brother to sit with him at that time. And my dad told me that he would like to ask me the same question so he could understand what's going on. And I said, okay. And I wondered is he wanting me to jump on board with him in this mission to behave like this is the first time I'm telling you that we're having altercations in our home. There's a place that I am put in, and in order for me to be compliant with him and to not have any issues with this particular person, a lot of times I feel like I have to go along for the ride, and I just continue to press that what I'm saying is how it played out. How I'm narrating it is how it played out. So what he decides is that he's going to implant in me a different perspective, which is fine. And the reason why it's fine is because I feel like sometimes maybe I can be self-centered. Maybe I can be exaggerating the incident. maybe I can have a perceived threat from the past. But I'm not going to accept that all the way through. I cannot continue to accept your implantation of how things went down while I was there. So I'm telling you my experience, and and I'm telling it upon invitation. You requested that I come. So for any person to request that you come to my house so that I hear your account and then proceed to tell me what happened, I shouldn't even bother trying to really illustrate, trying to really verbalize anything. Let me just hear from you about what happened since you weren't there. But how it started is, I invited your husband here a few days ago, and I had your youngest brother here with me, and I would like for him to join us now. But since you came with your kids, it'd be best that he stay and watch what the kids are doing back there in the den of his house. And then my dad asked me, okay, what happened the night that you guys were the day before the Tuesday before Thanksgiving? And I told him how what I felt started the yelling. And then I remember my dad asking me, is it possible that I could have said something that he doesn't like me doing? I said, possibly. And he said, is there anything that you know that he doesn't like that you do? And I said, I feel like it's inconsistent, but he has verbalized that I am disrespectful. He said that night, and he said it before. And my dad said, is there anything that you know that he has said that you don't like that you can actually change? And I said, I don't know. Oh, he said, is there anything that you know for sure that you could have peace between the two of you? And I said, I don't know, because I know I've tried so many things. I've tried bringing a pastor to the house. I've tried going to Genesis Counseling Center, trying to get some therapy through myself. I've actually asked my husband if I could begin to take out funds from our joint so that I could go to, from our joint account, so that I could take out some, begin to take some anger management classes. And I remember him agreeing in the beginning and then saying no later on. And that was just to be on one accord. And that was at the time when I felt like I could come and discuss, and then we could be just civil. Not, I do feel like I experience irrational thoughts. And I also believe that even though that's what I experienced from him, I am aware that I don't think things all the way through. And I just see it evidenced by me just arriving places, and I just didn't realize what I would need, how I would be able to do what I need to do at this time, at this date, at this place. My dad asked me, he said, besides the physical altercation that you guys had in Arlington, and it wasn't Arlington, it was at Grand Prairie, but he asked me, besides that physical altercation, is there any other physical altercation that has occurred? And I said, well, yeah. I mean, there was the one in 2010 where there was a physical altercation. He claimed that I hit him in the nose to the point to where he needed X-ray. And he had told you that over the phone, and he had also ended our engagement, our August 2010 engagement at that time. There was the physical altercation that happened at a church where it was said that that while the men sat one side and the women sat one side, this woman caught the Holy Spirit and began to speak and say that he should come to the front. And when he came to the front, he knelt down and she said, "Oh, there's something on your heart, and you think that whoever is talking, whoever you're looking at, is the one that's talking. But I'm gonna tell you that the one that is that you're looking at is not the one that's talking. And I'm gonna tell you by asking you a question." She said, "What is your purpose?" And she asked him to ask a question, and he's like, "Okay, what is my purpose?" And she was like, "I can't tell you that. I can't tell you what your purpose is because it has to do with why you were even born." And so, and then she said, "Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. You want to know who your wife is? I'm gonna tell you that person is right here in this room." And I was like, "What?" And I just felt, because at the time he and I weren't dating, and we had a really terrible breakup, and I was recovering from how dramatic it was. And not just, it was dramatic, and I wasn't even aware that I actually don't have to go through this. I wasn't aware that I didn't have to be involved in something so theatrical each and every instance that we had a disagreement. It was so physical. It was so physical, which is beyond my understanding, because my parents had never been physical in front of me. So if they were doing it in the back and in their room or in just out of our sight, I was experiencing what they weren't able to just get out of their system. I don't know, whatever. But as soon as she said that, I kind of got up from that church sanctuary area where the men and women were divided separately, and I tried to go toward the hallway that leads to rooms on the left and right side, and then the exit of the entire building. And he grabbed my hand, and I was just like, yanked it back, because I'm just not owned by you. So he yanked it back, and then I just I yanked it back, and then he kept yanking, and I'm just in the sanctuary, and I'm just like yanking. I'm using my whole body again. And at that instant was the beginning of another physical back and forth. And I just felt like this, I really didn't have to do this. Like this, why is it constantly, as long as I'm intermingling, as long as I'm engaging this person? But I promise you, it wasn't something I looked out for. He didn't go to that church, and I did. My cousins were the pastors, so I don't know why he was there. I don't even know. But anyway, so but I should start looking around for other people. Like, can you help me? Because I really don't want to. I don't want this. I don't want to. I just want to go. I want to leave. I wanted to leave. And I didn't have to be there. I was a church goer, so I'm not obligated to be here in this seat in the sanctuary, whichever. So anyway, I began to extend my leg and pull with my body away from his grip, and we ended up in a room where this woman was breastfeeding, who was my cousin's wife, and she was just breastfeeding. She was like, "Oh, what? This is so crazy." So she was like shocked at what she was seeing. She wasn't, the way she was behaving, and anytime I did pay attention to her, because she was breastfeeding, she was just like, "I really don't know what you guys are doing, but y'all really should calm down. We are in a church. Please just have some kind of regard." I was like, have some regard? I could totally have some regard if you could interfere or whatever, but just always, man, I just don't know what it is, but I have constantly been around people that are just like, "I really hope you take care of your situation. I really hope you got it. I don't know." They're just like, "You got it," as opposed to, "Let me step in and be of some help. Hey, she's communicated that she doesn't want to do anything with you," and whichever. But I have never been around that. So, but I did have the chance. I know that when I was first engaged, I shared, the second time I shared with the girlfriend, and she shared with me that I don't even think that this guy has what you and I have been working on in the Spirit of the Lord. Like, we have been reading scripture, and I've been trying to communicate a message to you, and you've been like, "Oh wow, that's so powerful, and that's so meaningful And so she just was trying to share something that didn't really melt into my understanding, but she circled back to it a couple years into my marriage, and I was just like, I never would, I never even had the capability to have perceived the severity of what you were saying, the value of what you were saying at that time. So you could have said it every day, but I wouldn't have been able to see it. So that was on me. So just not having that wisdom, that's just literally wisdom, foresight, wisdom. But that physical altercation ended when I did start screaming because I was just like, y'all trying to hold church? I don't want to be here. So I just started screaming, and but drums were being played, people were singing to the praises to the Lord, and I needed to interrupt and bother someone, and one of my cousins came, and it was a female cousin, but she's like 5'4". I don't know how tall she is, but she wasn't tall enough. And so he had, so she came in between us, and finally the door was open, and I looked for a way to get out of this breastfeeding room that he would not open the door. He is, yes, he's physically stronger than me. So I remember getting out of the room, and then, but he still had he was holding my wrist for, I think it was at least 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Because it started from inside the sanctuary, and I just kept dragging myself. And even if I did report to my parents, the way they would have seen it would have been like, well, why didn't you do something? Why wouldn't you cooperate? Not just I think she's saying she doesn't really feel like she has to report to you, that she has to be with you, that she has to do anything with you on this earth. I think that's what I'm hearing her say. I didn't have, like, I was saying that, and then he was just like, no. So, when he pulled my dress down, my breasts were showing, and I was just like, I knew you would do something like that. My cousin looked at me, and she was just like, I can't believe you always had that in your mind. And for her to look at it that way, I was just like, how am I seen as the villain? She was just like, I can't believe it. She brought it up again in front of my parents, I think, wherein she said that she repeated what I said, which is, I knew he would do something like that. And she's like, well, you've always had this in your mind. You've always had this in your heart. And she's like, you need to clear that out. And I'm just like, is he paying y'all? And I didn't even think of it like that. I just felt like, yeah, you know what? I do need to work on my heart, but still, I just did y'all get the physicality, that the grabbing and the holding of my wrist for over half an hour. And I remember telling my dad that, and he was just like, well, is there anything else? And I just felt like, why tell you when you're gonna just say it's not a big deal? And he asked, would I be able to overlook those? I said no. He said, was there anything that you can overlook? And I'm like, we asked if those are still happening. Are physical altercations still happening? I said no. And he was like, okay, well then what is it really? And I just said, well, I think that the propensity in which we operate is too wide, and I'm not willing to be a part of such chaos that happens at the spur of a moment. I don't like it. I don't like the peace. I don't like the lack of peace, and I don't like how we don't cooperate. I don't like how the arguing can just pop off at any minute. So he was like, is that something you can overlook? And I said no. And that's why I called all my aunts and all my uncles, and I started telling them what my business was. And he was just like, I didn't say that part. That's why I call my aunts. That's why I call my uncles. But he said, well, I had your husband here, and I was able to hear every time I asked a question. I was able to hear and understand him. And so when you say I don't know, then I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. I don't understand what you're saying. But I said I don't know to one question. He asked me at least like 10 to 20 questions, and he's just like, I don't understand what you're saying. When he said he don't understand, I was just like, in my spirit, I was just like, I feel like you decided that already before I got here. You decided that you don't understand, And if you did understand, you would have to do more. You would have to be a, when you're aware, then you're making a choice off of the knowledge that you know. So saying that you don't understand keeps you unaware, and it keeps you um, in the clear as far as like having to respond. And I remember when he said that, when your husband was here, I was able to ask him the same questions. I was able to ask him the same questions. And I was like, I hope that you told him, this is my daughter, and you cannot come to her causing arguments without any opportunity to calm down and be able to talk and be able to be understood and to understand. And he was like, I can't believe you. He said that he was offended by me saying that because it makes him feel like he's not doing the best as a father. He said that when I talk like that and I'm disrespectful, it makes it difficult for people to be able to help me. And right there, I said, you know what? This is probably what my husband is experiencing. This is definitely what my husband is experiencing. I'm communicating something, and I'm telling you that I hope that you fought for me. I hope that you put back on him some kind of pressure. You can't just be bullying folks in their house. Like, it's to cooperate together, to work together, not I'm this and you're nothing, and you just do as I say, which is what I was feeling. But my dad paused in such tense anger, shock, that I said, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm sorry. That's what. And he was just like, no, don't apologize, because this is how this is, now I know this is how you're talking, and I know that I know that why I called you here. I called to understand you, and I don't even understand anything you're saying. And I'm just like, anything? You don't understand anything? Because I answered your questions, but I just felt like, what? You didn't understand anything? That was so big. And I just sunk, and but how could I forget so easily that before coming here, I already just drew up, like, I don't know you to use compassion. I don't know you to use your heart when you talk. And so that's so interesting. And so I felt like I was him. And I felt like him talking to me without emotion and thinking he's, trying to get to a point, trying to derive an understanding from me, was me. And so I just felt so hopeless. I just felt so hopeless. I just felt so hopeless. That's so funny that I invested my heart there, yet intellectually I don't have any experience of you saying, wow, that's, just like anything other than like anger and disappointment or joy. And if it doesn't fit in those, then you're not able to comprehend. But then there's another one. There's disrespect. There's that one. Disrespect and shame. Those are things. But compassion, that's not an option that he can experience toward me. My siblings may be able to experience it, but I haven't. So you're still able to raise a child, but I'm an adult now. But I'm anyway. I think that when you give other people a compassion, as little people compassion, when you're raising them, then they can get a sense of being heard and validated in their thoughts. But what my dad maybe, I'm not really sure what, I can't even interpret what what his agenda was. And so, but he checked off the list of talking with me. So, okay. But what a waste of time for me. What a pure waste of time for me to talk to somebody who doesn't give a fuck if you're getting beat. That was all in the past. Who doesn't give a fuck if you are having not physical, but just verbal altercations in your home. What a waste of time and foolishness on my behalf, knowing that this person has a limitation on how they interact with you. What a waste of time. And it's not an investment toward the building up of me. And even if I want to put my selfishness and my self-absorbency to the side and then go back and assess the situation through the eyes of God having a purpose for me. So there's some struggles I may go through, but it's all for God's purpose. Let me tell you something. When I go through or when anybody goes through a situation where somebody is going to discuss with you, first off, you're fake. I mean, he's trying to, I don't even know what his agenda is, but I just told you what I'm experiencing. And what would I have had to go through to where you would have intervened? Like, you talked to us separately. You were not trying to bring us together. And he's separated from my mama anyway. So, and he's very comfortable where he's at. So for me to go to him, he may not have this particular area figured out. He's very limited in what he is willing to do. And I knew that beforehand. And so me still honoring his invitation, knowing what the subject matter of the meeting was going to be about, I don't value my time and I don't value my headspace, because right when I left there on Friday, it wasn't just hopeless. It was opening the door to hopelessness. And on Saturday, I remember sharing the highlights with my community launcher or community shepherd, who is assigned to our community group right now. My community group are a bunch of women who have heard me talk about my experiences and have said, wow, that not only is that hard, still make sure that you play your role as a godly woman, as a godly daughter. But we need to see what the church can do about this. And I'm just like, what? Look at y'all stepping in and getting involved. These are real sisters. These are real family members. No blood relation. And then, yet here I go entertaining people who are wanting me to jump on board with how they cut themselves off with me, how short they are with me, with their long spoon that they using to deal with me, called mom, dad, and sister, or brother. So I'm just inspired. So interesting. But I'm still people pleasing. I'm still behaving with codependency tendencies, and once I start not just valuing me, but once I just start applying wisdom and applying the things that I go through and experience, and the conversations and the people and the space that I'm in, with wisdom, spiritual wisdom, then I could just formulate just a yes and a no. And I'm so thankful that you would like to hear from me. I'm not going to be able to do it. But I'm not there yet. Right after he and I finished talking. He asked what I was. I told him I had an interview on Monday, and that it was at a agency, and he has an agency, and he asked if what are you gonna be doing at your interview? For what are you gonna be interviewing for? And I told him the job. He was like, well, you can do that here, and I was just like, you just heard everything from my heart. It's about what I'm experiencing, what I'm crying about, and you didn't understand me. You didn't understand anything that I said. You got more information from okay. But yet you would like for me to come work and continue to do this every day of the week. Absolutely not. He was like, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the interview and I'm going to call you. And I just didn't, which hinders my spiritual maturity, which hinders my capability to continue to just to verbalize it's gonna be a no. Just verbalize no. Verbalize I can't do this. I cannot discuss my marriage with my family members. No one that is blood related to me. It's pointless because they don't have the emotional capacity to be able to discuss, nor the wisdom. They don't have the spiritual wisdom, and they don't have the reverence for God. They don't honor God enough to want righteousness for this situation. They don't honor God enough. They don't want righteousness enough to want better for this situation. That has nothing to do with them. It's just, because that has something indirectly to do with them. They don't. And that's just where they are. But my community group is livid. They on fire, and they trying to get resources and see how I could use these resources to get to where I can still be fully revering God in the most righteous way through prayer, getting answers so that they cannot intervene without using. God uses timing. They're just sharing and updating how I've had to come back. Not had to come back. It's just after my son shared with me that their dad takes them some place and keeps them there until night until he's done working. I was like, I'm alive. I can be in the house if he wants to start some other stuff. All of a sudden now I can be here again, but I didn't want to when it was happening. But now that my kids were being affected and calling me on the phone, I came right back. I was like, okay, hold on, wait, what? Like, these are my kids, so I need to be here. But that's my limitation with them. They have a limitation with me. I have a limitation with them. I can no longer discuss my marriage to them, anything about my marriage. How's it going? Okay, good. And I just ask them questions. I see how they're doing, and that's it. Just can't get them involved because they don't have the capacity, they don't have the tools, and they don't have what is needed. So don't pour out to them, and I would be foolish to do that. And I'm gonna pray for them because I was like, I'm gonna block all of them, but I can still keep a conversation with them, have my kids call and talk to them for hours on the phone if they're capable. But then just cut off the update status, the whatever from my marriage, and then talk to community group members. Just pray. That's it. All right.